Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 34, overall 474 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West here in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric products and Cadillac products as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, and you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph has been a proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show going back to 2022, and I've been a proud customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph since the year 2000, which has been family run and operated here in Guelph since 1969. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is also sponsored by Wellington Brewery, 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, Ontario. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Wellion, and please remember to drink responsibly. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday, January 3rd, 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. And I'm excited to have my guest on today. This is his fourth time on my show, and we're going to bring him on in a minute. His name is Kevin Allen. He is a former longtime hockey writer with US Today for 34 years, and now he's a hockey columnist writer with Detroit Hockey Now. We're going to bring Kevin on and talk maybe a little bit about the World Juniors and the 24-25 Detroit Red Wings. Good morning, Kevin. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing great. Good to be here.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Well, thank you so much, and a lot of news going on with the Red Wings and the World Juniors, Kevin. And I wanted to get your thoughts on the demise of Canada last night and this World Junior tournament so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of strangeness associated with what's going on with the Canadian team. I mean, the fact that they didn't practice, and they just didn't seem to be, given the players that were left off the team. There's always controversy when it comes to picking the Canadian team because Canada has so many good players. But this year it seemed like it was more extreme in terms of it wasn't an easy explanation for why certain players were left off. And then when they have such an early exit, that there's going to be a lot of soul searching after this one.
How many Red Wing prospects are in this tournament right now, Kevin?
Yeah, well, there's still four. There was four when they started, and they still got four left. But there's always a lot of emphasis on having a lot of prospects in the World Juniors. But I think it's having the key players, and they have two captains, and Axel Sandin-Pellikka of Sweden, and Jesse Kiskinen of Finland, and both of them came out of it, and then also. We have Trey Augustine of the Michigan State sophomore, who is the goalie for USA, and Max Plant, who's the son of former NHL player Derek Plant. He's not playing a whole lot, but getting some time. He's been on the scoreboard. He has a goal. He had a big goal against Latvia, an important goal. And Augustine, of course, played well against Canada, which was the key for them. You can't say enough about Sandin-Pellikka. I mean, he's had an incredible season in Sweden, one of the best seasons ever by a player his age in the Swedish Hockey League. Then he's come over here and, going into the last game, I don't know where he is today, but he was going into the last game. He was leading the tournament in scoring, or at least tied for the lead with another defenseman. So I think they're pretty pleased with the players that they have. I think Kiskinen is a bit of a surprise. He came in the what we'll call a controversial Andrew Gibson trade when they moved him to Nashville to get the second round pick that they shipped off to get rid of Jake Wallman. People were not necessarily happy with losing Gibson, but getting Kiskinen back, I think gives that trade a little bit of chance to have some value for the Red Wings, because it looks like he's a player that will play in the NHL. He's a feisty player and a guy that seems to be involved, engaged at all times. So it's going to be interesting to see if he ends up sort of salvaging that trade for Detroit.
Hey, Kevin, quick thoughts on the semifinals between Finland and Sweden and the U.S. and the Czech Republic.
Well, I think that the Czechs are a lot better than people realized coming into the tournament. So the Americans cannot take that lightly, that game lightly. I think they're the better team. They should win that. Augustine will be back in goal, I'm assuming. And Sweden, Sweden to me has been really the best team that I've seen. They have a lot going on. They got 3 NHL caliber defensemen, in my opinion. And then a bunch of forwards as well that are going to be playing in this league for a long time. So I think it's going to be the U.S. and Sweden coming out of that. And then I probably will pick Sweden in that final if it comes down to that. I really have been impressed by that Swedish team.
And last question about the World Juniors, Kevin. Any chance in the future that the World Junior Tournament could be back in the state of Michigan at some point?
Well, you would hope so. This is certainly hockey town, and it fits the criteria for a successful American city, which is you got to be on the border of Canada because you got to draw from there, no doubt. And it's never really caught on in the U.S. the way that it's the Canadian fans look at it, but. If you can get it a town close enough to the Canadian border, you can usually draw well enough to make it a success. I mean, it's been fine in Buffalo as well, and so we'll see what happens. But I do think Michigan's certainly in the mix, and everybody wants to, have the tournament at Little Caesars Arena, which is a great arena.
Absolutely, and Windsor too is not that far away, and they have a beautiful facility where the Spitfires play too. So, Kevin, I just wanted to get into the Red Wings now. You just finished an article this morning, which I just read. McClellan injects confidence, and I thought it was a well-written article. Exactly. He's only been there a week and a half, and it seems like he's already made a little bit of an impact.
Yeah, I mean, the morale was just so low on the Red Wings in the final weeks of the Lalonde coaching tenure there, and they had, I always have hated the term that the players had given up on a coach, because I don't think that was the case. I think they liked Derek Lalonde as a person, but I just think they had sort of given up that they were going to be able to turn it around, and you heard it all the time that the spirit was not good. That no one seemed to be excited. If you think back to last year when David Perron would march into the coach's office and say, if we can go 14-4, we can win this. I mean, that's the kind of spirit that you want. You want guys that sort of believe, even if it's a long shot, that they still have a chance. I don't think they felt like that. But you bring in, someone like Todd McClellan, who has been here before, understands the fan base, understands the history of the franchise. And I think he also understands what it takes to turn a team's morale around. And that's what he's worked on. I mean, he said he was going to emphasize defense, but to me, what he's really done is given the team some confidence, and that's really manifested itself in the offensive play of 2 players in particular, Patrick Kane and Jonathan Berggren. Both of those players need confidence, you got to let those horses run if you want them to score. And I think Lalonde was a little hesitant. He was playing a style that I think Patrick Kane felt restricted in. And also Jonathan Berggren, he didn't really trust him, so he didn't really give him the scoring opportunities that he really needs. I said in another story where I thought, if I was McClellan, one of the things I would do is I would put Edmondson on the power play, because I didn't think Gustafsson was doing that well, although Gustafsson's another player who seems to be playing better under McClellan than he did under Lalonde. But I would put Berggren in the top 6 because I'd watched him. I saw a lot of his games last year. Or I shouldn't say a lot of them. I saw some of his games last year in the Grand Rapids team, and he had 17 goals in his first 70-some NHL games. This guy can find the net, so I would like to see him get a greater opportunity. He's got that. I mean, it's only 3 minutes, but it's who he's playing with, and I think the fact he has 2 breakaway goals now has given him a lot of confidence. I think it tells McClellan, hey, this guy can be a difference maker if we get him going and he feels confident. So I think that those are important issues, and sometimes it's something as simply as morale that get this team turned around. I think everybody felt that this team was better than it showed. Now, how much better is, we'll leave that to debate. But is it enough to get into the playoffs? Well, they've dug themselves a pretty big hole, but all of a sudden they're only 4 back. So let's see where this takes us.
And that was a huge comeback win last night against Columbus. And that game-winning goal by Berggren was a beauty as well, coming out of the penalty box. And it just seems like just changing the coaches is kind of helped their confidence. And I wanted to ask you this too, Kevin. It's been a while, but I believe Harry Neal was the last Red Wings coach to be fired during the midseason. I believe 84-85 or 85-86, I believe.
Yeah, that's very true. That's not something the Red Wings have done historically. They like to wait till after the season. And, the question, one of the reasons why there are some organizations that don't believe in in-season coaching changes is because if you do it at postseason, you have a better collection of talent to draw from. Usually by then, a couple of coaches have been removed from other teams. So you have like a stable of veteran coaches from which to choose. And in season, the argument is always, well, you don't really want the guys that don't have a job in the middle of the season. But in this case, that's not true. Todd McClellan is a highly respected coach, and he does have some experience with dealing with rebuilding teams as well. And of course, Yzerman, one of the things, Yzerman doesn't tip his hand, but he does explain how he looks at things. And he has said numerous times to the media since he got here that he likes to hire people that he has history with. And of course, McClellan was assistant coach here in Yzerman's last year as a player, and he was then joined Ken Holland's organization when McClellan was still an assistant coach here. So he knows how McClellan coaches. He knows his personality. He knows his style. And I think that gave him a lot of comfort. Now, he had hired Lalonde, too, in Tampa, and certainly knew him. But I don't think he knew him as well as he knows McClellan. McClellan and Yzerman both admitted that they had become friends through the years, and they talk to each other. I don't know if it was once a week or twice a month, but they talked to each other enough that they maintained their friendship through the years.
And I originally thought he was bringing him in as an intern coach, but he signed him to a multi-year deal, so he's committed to Todd McClellan and Trent Yanni. And what, in your opinion, Kevin, is Todd McClellan's biggest strengths or asset with this team, and along with Trent Yanni, the former Blackhawk defenseman coming in?
Well, I think he's got a good feel for teams. I think he's a coach, and I think this fits well with what Steve Yzerman wanted. He's not a guy that says, I play this system and you guys got to all fit to it. But I think we just saw Lalonde try that. He wanted to run this system and he wanted the guys to adhere to it. I think McClellan looks at what he has available to him and then molds his system around the talent available. And I think that's a big difference. I also think he does a real good job of finding chemistry in his lines. He is a guy that will switch up his lines at a moment's notice if he thinks he can find better chemistry. So I think that's going to be crucial. And we've already seen that a little bit in terms of how he's moved other guys around.
What's your overall assessment of this 24-25 Detroit Red Wing team so far? And just thoughts on the play of Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko, who he's only had, 4 goals, 10 assists, and 14 points so far.
Yeah. Well, I think Tarasenko's been a major disappointment. Like, I think he's a guy that they expected a lot more from, and they didn't get it. And I think they absolutely have to have more from him. If they want to make the playoffs, they need absolutely everything that they set up before the season to work. And so far, it hasn't. So Tarasenko probably is a project that McClellan has his eye on right now. He's got to find a way to get him engaged and being involved in this offense.
How good is defenseman Simon Edvinsson? I did see him play in the game in Buffalo, and I really like the way he moves the puck and his confidence on the blue line.
Yeah, I really wanted to see him move to the power play. I think he would have done a better job than Gustafsson, who has a reputation for being a good power play guy, but has really never put up the kind of numbers that you want to see from a power play performer. And Edvinsson, of course, played it last season in Grand Rapids, and he's a bit of a risk taker. And I'm not sure Lalonde liked that, but I think McClellan would appreciate it more. Like, he's willing. Like, every once in a while, you're watching your television screen, or if you're down there like I am, you look down and you see Edvinsson's behind the opposition net. You're going, what the heck's he doing down there? Like, but he takes chances. He'll carry the puck in. He'll take it deep when he thinks it's appropriate. I think he's been tremendous this year. I think he just needs to be given free rein, and he'll be, a really dependable defenseman. I get why McClellan is. I liked Edvinsson and Moritz Seider together. I really did. I mean, I think that gave them a dominant pairing, but I also understand why he wants to do this. His idea is this balances the defense more. So, you have one exceptional defenseman on your top two pairings. And so far, I think that's worked out. I mean, Columbus, things were a bit shaky defensively, but the 2 games before that, the defense was pretty solid. So, I think Edmonton's going to be a top player. I think he and Moritz Seider will be on this defense for a lot of years to come.
What's Patrick Kane? What are they going to do with him? I know he only signed a 1-year deal. Do you keep him for the rest of the year, or do you see if there's somebody out there before the trade line that wants a veteran present in their lineup for a playoff run?
Well, I think that's up to Patrick, to be honest with you. I mean, I think he's owed a conversation where they just say, "What do you want to do, Patrick?" Like, if they're in it, I think Patrick will stay and try to help this team make the playoffs. If they're not, then he'll have a decision to make. Does he want to just finish it out and have a short year and then get ready for next season, or does he want to go try to win another cup? Like, knowing Patrick, I'd guess he'd go try to win another cup, but we really haven't talked to him about that at this point. But he's played much better the last couple of games. He's been undermined by injury this season as well. I wouldn't rule out, I know some people already have, but I wouldn't rule out, like, if he continues and plays well under McClellan and they make a run to make the playoffs, I wouldn't rule out the Red Wings re-signing him. I really wouldn't.
What are your thoughts on the goaltending situation with Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon, and I guess Husso's back in Grand Rapids right now?
Yeah, and he had a 1-0 shutout last night. I'm going to write about that when I get off this podcast. About if you look, Husso in his last 5 NHL outings for the Red Wings had game save percentages of 914 or better in 4 of those 5 games. He's got a tremendous record this year in Grand Rapids, 1.89 ERA, 930 some save percentage. I think he's only lost 1 game. He's played pretty well. He played well late for the Red Wings and also for Grand Rapids. So, the only thing that prevents him from being a possible trade candidate is the salary. He just makes too much money. So I don't think they'll be able to move him. But, he's played well. But I don't think he'll be able to get back in the mix because, Alex Lyon's last 2 performances were good. Talbot has a long history with McClellan in 2 different teams. And I think he has a lot of trust in him as well. And, Eiserman signed Cam Talbot for 2 years. So next year, like, he's in the mix. Next year it'll either be, Talbot and Lyon again. They'll, re-sign Lyon with then Kosa being the first call up from Grand Rapids, or it will be Kosa, I think, and Talbot next year. And then we'll see. Because, I think Trey Augustine, the Michigan State goalie who's in the World Juniors now, like, I think he could sign after this season. And then he would be ready perhaps to be the Grand Rapids goalie. And I think long term, and I think this is important if you're a fan to keep in the back of your mind, I think the Red Wings, like many teams, are coming to the conclusion that the days of the 60 appearance starting goalie are over. It's going to be more like a 53, 29, 30 or 52-30 split, or a 48-34 split on goalies. And I think because of that, they sort of envision that at some point in the future, we'll have kind of a Kosa-Augustine pairing where, it'll be close to 50-50 because both of them are pretty good prospects.
I was at the game where they came back against Buffalo at the KeyBank Center, and Kosa came in relief and got his first NHL win. And I was actually impressed with what he did in that game. He only played half that game, but he made some key saves, and I thought he did good in the shootout against Buffalo too.
Yeah, I mean, he takes up a lot of net. He's 6'6", almost 6'7", I think, and he's got pretty good composure. Really smart guy. He's a real workaholic in the gym. He's spent a lot of time on his conditioning and on his weight training. And I think they're very pleased with his development. If you look at him since he got here, starting out with the Toledo Walleye, he's improved every year. He started out solely in Toledo, and then by the end of it, he was a dominant ECHL performer, and he started out solely in Grand Rapids, and now he's kind of taken over, and he's one of the better goalies in that league now. And it's interesting. He hasn't played since December 22nd in Grand Rapids. I was wondering, you don't get much, even from the Grand Rapids team, you don't get much injury information. So I don't know whether he was injured. They just want to rest him a little bit because Yuso and Campbell have had the last 3 starts. And my impression is that Red Wings expect Kosa to still be the number 1 goalie, regardless of who's down there, because otherwise, you're stunting his development. So I would expect Kosa will be back on the track to play again. And he was back up yesterday, so if he did have an injury, he's probably ready to go now.
Any chance you'll see him back in a Red Wing uniform before the end of this year, or most likely next season in training camp?
Yeah, that's my guess, but I don't really know. It depends on the injury, but the 3 goalie system isn't ideal. And so, as long as Lyon and Talbot are healthy, and as long as they're still going, I would say this, like, there would be plenty of teams that would be interested in either Lyon or Talbot if it comes down, if they fell out of the race. Edmonton's looking for a goalie. The Lightning are looking for a backup goalie. So, could Talbot or Lyon end up going? I mean, I think it's plausible. I don't know if there's been conversations or not, but that would make sense. I know Edmonton was interested in Talbot. I mean, they know him well because he's been there.
What's the overall mood of the media and the fan base with this team right now, especially the last 4 games under Todd McLellan?
Well, I mean, they really were ready to see Lalonde gone. That was clear. Like, they had lost faith in him. They just didn't like him. And you know how it is in the world of sports. Like, people are just over the top. Like, they can't see beyond the fact that the team wasn't playing well, and someone had to be held accountable, and in their mind it was Lalonde. They just didn't like his system. They didn't like how he played his players. They didn't like what he had to say after the games. Like, they just seemed to be really displeased with him. But I don't think you can exonerate Steve Yzerman in all this either. I mean, he's kind of created a little bit of this, and it was all in the name, I think, of trying to make this team playoff worthy. over the last couple of years. But in so doing, he has signed some players to longer deals that I bet he probably regrets now. The Cop deal, the Comfort deal, they were kind of longer than he likes to give. And there have been some players that, have gotten here that just hasn't performed as well as he would like. But, I think this year, Talbot was a great signing, but, it looks like Tarasenko was not a great signing. I wasn't very impressed with Gustafsson, although, like I said, he has played better since McClellan got here. So, we'll kind of see how that all works out. But it's tricky business because the perception, I think, of fans these days is that, they all still have the old kind of thinking that it takes 5 years to rebuild. And I'm here to tell you that it takes a lot longer than 5 years. If you look at the Edmonton Oilers situation through the years, the Buffalo Sabres, the Toronto Maple Leafs are a good team, but, they haven't won the cup. How long have they been? They started out on a rebuild and it took a long time. And of course they had the luck of getting Austin Matthews, which, you can certainly build around as well. Look how many first round picks the Edmonton Oilers have had to get there, and the Red Wings have had no lottery luck. So, the idea that, this is 6 years for Yzerman, that he's, gone beyond where you should be, I don't think that's really true. If you're trying to build through the draft, as he is, I think, that it takes much longer. He still only has, Seider and Lucas Raymond, and he's got Casper this year as well. But, it's not like he has half his team are his draft picks. We're still not there yet.
And finally, Kevin, do you feel Steve Yzerman will make a trade or two before the deadline?
It depends on where they are, and it depends on, whether Patrick Kane, if they're out of it, whether Patrick Kane wants to be traded. He has a lot of guys that would be difficult to trade that he would be willing to trade. Like I said, the longer contracts are much harder to move. So, I don't think he'd be able to move, Cop. But he certainly, maybe could move a veteran like Petrie if they were out of it as well for, maybe one last hurrah, because this is his last year on a contract. But he's always poking his nose and everything. So if they need something to make a run, I think he'll certainly go out and get that. And I think if they're out of it, I think he'll try to, move Kane if Kane wants to move.
Well, right now they're 4 points out of a playoff spot, and tomorrow they take on the Winnipeg Jets. That's going to be a test for this Red Wings team.
Yeah.
Obviously, they beat Washington at home, Pittsburgh, and Columbus, but I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to be a really good test for this team tomorrow night on the road.
I agree with you. I mean, when you look at their Winnipeg has just been a scoring machine this year. They're at like 3.7 goals per game, and the Red Wings are at 2.68, I think, per game. So it's like the Red Wings start that game down 1-0. That's the way I view it. So they have their work cut out for them now. They've scored a bunch of goals since McClellan took over. So they've got 4, and 5 in 3-game winning streak. So I think that this is a little bit different team now. But if they could put together another good effort against Winnipeg, I think it would go a lot to a sort of extending this confidence, this newfound confidence.
Finally, Kevin, where can my audience follow you on social media and Detroit Hockey Now? And what's the next story you're working on?
Well, as I said, I'm going to be writing about Ville Husso and the impact he's having down in the AHL and what his future might be. By Kevin Allen at by Kevin Allen at Twitter, and Detroit Hockey Now. We have our own Facebook site. Like us there. We post all of our stories there as well, so when we have stuff coming up. I work with Bob Duff, who's another longtime NHL writer. So between the two of us, we usually have 3 or 4 stories every day.
Well, Kevin, I want to say thank you so much for giving us a half an hour out of your time today. And I want to get back to Little Caesars Arena to a game this year as well. And the Red Wings just got to take this one game at a time approach, and still a lot of hockey to be played left in this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's still, it looks like it's insurmountable when they had to make up, 8 or 10 points and they had 5 teams between them. But Steve Eisenman said when he hired McClellan, look, if you put together a 3-game winning streak, you seem to be right back in the race. Well, that's exactly what's happened. They won 3 in a row, and they are right back in the race.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much again for coming on. Continued success, and look forward to your next article on Detroit Hockey Now as well, .com.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day. You too. All right, guys, that concludes season 9, episode 34, overall 474 of Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show with my guest today, Kevin Allen, hockey columnist, writer with Detroit Hockey Now, covering the Detroit Red Wings and the National Hockey League as well. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I'm going to play a little video I did with Buffalo Bandits analyst Steve Bermel before the Bandits home opener against Rochester last Saturday night at TD Bank Center, where Buffalo defeated Rochester 13-6. And this is courtesy of my YouTube channel. Live from the KeyBank Center for tonight's home opener for the world champion Buffalo Bandits, taking on the Rochester Nighthawks at 6:30 here at the KeyBank Center. And I have Buffalo Bandits analyst Steve Bermel, and he's going to talk to us about tonight's opponents, the Rochester Nighthawks. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Chris?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this. Thoughts on the Bandits finally getting their home opener and banner raised the number 6 title tonight against a very good Rochester team?
Yeah, kind of a clunky start to the season for Buffalo, right? A bye week, week 1, back-to-back road games, another bye week, and now ready to get started this afternoon. I talked to Steve Priola this morning, and he said he literally had goosebumps driving in, right? Here's a grizzled veteran who's still super excited for this home opener. He probably would be just as excited if it wasn't a banner-raising night, at the opportunity to finally play at home in front of a sold-out crowd. But the fact that it's the banner-raising night kind of kicks it up another notch. So for the second year in a row, the Bandits will send a banner to the rafters at their home opener.
Just quick thoughts on the Bandits' 2 games on the road at Rochester and Ottawa. And do you feel this team might be even more talented and more prepared for another championship run than even last year, where they started the season out 5-6?
Yeah, they definitely stumbled out of the gate last year. They struggled to score. They gave up more goals than they would have liked to. And then as the season went on, they kind of turned it around. But this year, they're flying out of the gates. And, Chris, it's been kind of we know lacrosse is a game of runs, right? And against Rochester, a close game, 7-6 going into the fourth, and Buffalo goes on an 8-1 run in the fourth quarter. Against Ottawa a week later, Ottawa scores first, right? Dunbar scores a quick stick goal to give Ottawa a 1-0 lead. And then the Bandits go on a 5-goal run, open up a 5-1 lead early in the second quarter, and never looked back. So this team looks dangerous. And when you talk about the talent, Chris, only 2 guys from that roster that won the NLL Cup just a few months ago are off the team and been replaced with young talent. But for the most part, the entire band is back together. So this team, thus far through 2 games, looks ready to push for a three-peat.
Who are some Bandits for the fans to look out for tonight, especially against Rochester?
Yeah, we got Scanlon in the lineup again with Chris Cloutier going to IR with a lower body injury. He's week to week. But otherwise, Dylan Robinson pushing the ball in transition with Ian McKay playing more up front. And maybe Ian McKay is another person to watch. 5 goals on 5 shots 2 weeks ago against Ottawa. He had the Midas touch. Everything that he shot went into the net. So keep an eye on Ian McKay, whose role might be bigger with Chris Cloutier moving to IR.
And finally, Steve, what are some keys to a Bandit win tonight against Rochester's, and what are you looking forward to most tonight in the home opener banner raising ceremony here at the KeyBank Center?
I'll reverse the question. What I'm looking most forward to is the crowd, right? A sold-out crowd of 19,070 should be an awesome atmosphere here tonight in Banditland. And what they need to do, Chris, I think it's special teams. I think they went 0 for 5 on the power play against Rochester in that opener, including a 5-on-3 for a minute and a half that they didn't score on. But then against Ottawa, their special teams were really, really good. So Buffalo is lethal on the power play, really good on the penalty kill, blocks a lot of shots. So if Buffalo can cash in on their power play opportunities, shut down the power play for Rochester, should be a good recipe to find some success for the Bandits.
And finally, Steve, where can people follow you on social media and tonight's broadcast at 6 o'clock, I guess, on 1520 The Bet?
Yeah, 1520 The Bet, 1520 AM on the Odyssey app, or you can head to the website on a web browser, on X at Steve Bermel, all one word, no underscores, nothing fancy like that. Yeah, find me on X to talk about anything Buffalo sports related, especially the Bandits, and also the same handle on Instagram. And we'd love to have you tune in tonight, 6 o'clock, 1520 AM The Bet.
Thank you so much, Steve, and continued success with the Buffalo Bandits.
Thanks, Chris. Happy New Year.
That was Steve Bermel, the radio analyst of the Buffalo Bandits. And the Bandits are off now until Friday, January 10th at 7:30 when they take on the QEW rivals, the Toronto Rock, at the KeyBank Center. You can get tickets at bandits.com and check out the National Lacrosse League website at nll.com. So the Bandits are off to a 3-0 start for the Bandits, and the Toronto Rock are coming into this matchup on January 10th at 0-4 as well. By the way, guys, I have another show tonight at 7:15 p.m. Friday, January 3rd, tonight at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, with my special guest, Blank Stare Comedy. She is a former jail guard, now turned comedian. So we're going to talk to her about changing careers from being an ex-jail guard into being a comedian, and talk about some of her recent performances and upcoming shows as well. So Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is sponsored by BarryCullen.com and Wellington Brewery.ca. So 7:15 tonight with Blank Stare Comedy. Tune in. Speaking of my sponsors, Barry Cullen Chevrolet, your go-to service center this winter. With winter coming, the colder temperatures coming, they are hard on your battery. You go to Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now for a no charge. That's right, a no charge battery test. Plus, they'll throw in a $20 instant rebate on a new AC Delco 12-volt battery if you need one. So make sure your battery is fully charged this winter. Go down to Barry Cullen Chevrolet, get your free battery test, and they'll throw in a $20 instant rebate as well at Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Family run and operated here in Guelph since 1969. And I want to give a special shout out to service department personnel, Greg Smith. Greg is one of the nicest guys, and he goes beyond customer service expectations. So another reason why I've been with Barry Cullen Chevrolet since 2000 is not just because they're great GM products, but they're great customer service. So Greg Smith and Matt Goldsmith, especially down at Barry Cullen Chevrolet in the service department as well. Also, guys, my other sponsor, Wellington Brewery. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Welly on, and please remember to drink responsibly. Wellington Brewery has been founded in Guelph since 1985. They are now celebrating their 40th year here in Guelph. They're one of Canada's oldest local craft breweries. And make sure you try a Welly on, and remember to please drink responsibly. Their website is wellingtonbrewery.ca. And right now at Wellington Brewery, you can try our 30-pack deals, are the best way to save on our fresh, award-winning craft beer. Beers such as Helles Lager, Upside IPA, Special Pale Ale, Country Brown Ale, Arcal Best Bitter, and Boot Light Lager. So check out Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph, Ontario. Before we wrap up our show, guys, as always, if you're looking to adopt a pet, you can check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road here in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. You can, if you're looking to volunteer, you can do it through their website, and also they're doing a 50-50 monthly raffle draw. You can do it through their website as well. And all the animals that are up for adoption are on their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. You can follow my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. You can also follow this content creator on TikTok at Live with CDP, and make sure you hit that follow notification. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans that I'm on, and if you're a business that does a lot of live streaming or webinars, StreamYard.com and contact their sales department. And I've been with StreamYard for 4.5 years, and I highly recommend StreamYard. Thumbs up to them as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And make sure you hit the subscribe and like notification as well. And I want to say thank you to my 8,257 listeners on Spotify as well. And I have audience in over 40 countries around the world. Thank you so much for listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the Argo Bounce Live audio show, and the Small Talk podcast as well. Finally, you guys, you can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated as well. And I'm also on PayPal. If you're looking to support my radio and media work, I'm on PayPal, cpame19@gmail.com. And also, I'm also on Cameo. If you like a personalized video from yours truly, check out cameo.com/Chris Pame and make sure you book your Cameo today as well. And before we wrap up our show, guys, the World Junior Tournament will wrap up this weekend. Saturday, January 4th, the semifinals will take place in Ottawa at the Canadian Tire Center, Finland and Sweden at 3:30. And then the 7 o'clock game will be the U.S. against the Czechs. The winner of these semifinals will meet on Sunday, January 5th, for the gold medal game at 7:30. Sunday, January 5th, the bronze game will be 3:30 from the losers of these games between Finland and Sweden and U.S. Czech. The bronze game at 3:30. And then the gold medal game for the World Juniors, the 2025 World Junior gold medal game, will be Sunday, January 5th, 7:30, Canadian Tire Center. And I agree with Kevin. I'm going to go with Sweden and the U.S. to play for the gold medal this year as well. And that's about it, guys. I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed and on audio stream. And thank you to Kevin Allen from Detroit Hockey Now for coming on. Check out their website, DetroitHockeyNow.com. Kevin Allen does a great job there. He was also a longtime hockey writer with US Today for 34 years. Kevin knows the NHL and the game of hockey as well as anybody in North America. And also, guys, looking forward to the NFL games this Sunday. Obviously, the Eagles-Giants is not really, it's a meaningless game for both teams. Giants are all horrible. Eagles have clinched the NFC East and the number 2 seed. The big game is Sunday night between the Lions and Vikings, and that's going to be a hell of a game. The winner gets the NFC North title and the number 1 seed, and the loser drops to number 5 and has to play on the road in the playoffs. So Vikings, Lions, 8:20 Sunday Night Football. Please check out my show last night with Greg Eno. Greg and I talked about the Lions and the preview of the game against the Vikings as well. And that's about it. I want to say thank you again to Kevin Allen for coming on. And everybody, I am so glad to be back for my 5th year of doing Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership and Wellington Brewery. I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you back here tonight for my second episode at 7:15 p.m. with special guest Blank Stare Comedy, 7:15 p.m. tonight, an ex-jail guard, now comedian, and looking forward to speaking to Blank Stare Comedy. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you at 7:15 p.m. tonight. And again, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph. Have a great day, everybody.